Welcome to the Voice of Retail. I'm your host, Michael LeBlanc. This podcast is brought to you in conjunction with Retail Council of Canada. As the head of trends for Insider Trends, Kate Trotter has her hand on the pulse of the future of retail success. In this interview with Kate from her offices in London, she offers her insight and experience on everything from retail safaris and trendsetters to consumer forecasting in the pandemic and the bright future of omnichannel retailing. As a fellow top 100 retail influencer, it was an honor to talk to Kate about the global retail trends and how retailers can make the most of technology in their sales ecosystems.
We're expecting overall spending to go back to pre-COVID levels by the end of 2022. So yes, our vaccine program has been going well, but we're not out of the woods.
Right.
By any means.
Right.
I mean, the good news is...
Let's listen in now. Kate, welcome to the Voice of Retail podcast. How are you doing this morning?
Really well, thank you. Yeah, it's my afternoon, but I'm still very good.
I was going to say, it's morning where I am, it's afternoon where you are. You're in London, England. Thanks so much for joining me across the pond and talking about all things retail. Wonderful to meet you and a fellow Rethink Top 100 member, and that brought us together, which is really a big benefit of lists like that, right? Just connects people who have so much in common, and again, I'm thrilled you had the opportunity to come and chat with me.
Yeah, no, it's a good club to be part of, definitely.
Absolutely. So listen, welcome to the podcast. Tell us about yourself and what you do and what you do at Insider Trends.
Sure. So I'm the head of trends at Insider Trends. Some people think that job title is enviable, but it's a bit abstract. But Insider Trends is a retail futures and omnichannel excellence. We've altered our tagline recently. We're using the tagline now that we offer omnichannel strategy and innovation that actually makes clients money. We very much believe that the heart of the future of retail is all about omnichannel. Our roots are in innovation, but the most important thing is that everything we do actually delivers for clients. I think a lot of people think that omnichannel and innovation are actually a cost, and they will be if you do them badly, but we know how to do them well. We know how to separate the hype from what actually works. So we promise our clients pretty much that our services and our initiatives with them will make them money.
Tell me a bit about Inside Trends. I mean, I know of you because as we were speaking off mic, I do some physical retail tours, particularly in New York around the NRF, sometimes in Toronto for retailers. That's how I came to know your organization, but I don't know much about your organization. So tell me all about it.
Sure. So the idea is that we have all these thoughts and observations about the future of retail in our heads, and we can share them with clients however suits them best. So the origins of the company are in retail safaris, so these trend tours of different innovative cities. I think we've done them in, 5 continents now. We've done them, from Mexico City all the way over to Tokyo. Loads of different cities showing off the best of what's going on in each of these cities and meeting innovators in them. But we do a lot of keynote presentations, private C-suite presentations too. We run innovation programs. We work as consultants. So the idea is that because we're always learning, thinking about what's coming next in retail, we can easily share that expertise in whichever format. And if it's all right to say, I should also say that we have a new video course where I've downloaded my brain, basically 12 years of retail thinking, into a 3-week online course. So that's quite a good way of people maybe, getting the best of my expertise in the most affordable format. So that's called the Modern Commerce Academy.
Oh, that's neat. So I'll be sure and you send me a link to that. I'll be sure and put it in the show notes. Let me ask you a little bit about your trade craft. So as you do retail tours in all these cities around the world, how do you do that? How do you assemble that kind of knowledge on that global footprint? Do you have feet on the ground, so to speak, a mix of both that and some great research and just clever reporting? Like, tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, it's a bit of both. So we start with a huge amount of desk research. And then typically I or one of my colleagues will go to that city and we will walk around for days and days and days.
Right.
And actually a lot of what we do is, on the most basic level, we work out what clients should see versus what they shouldn't. So I think typically clients might think that they can just pull a list from the internet and go themselves. But we've had some people say that they actually did that and then it was really rubbish. It was like a tour of broken iPads.
It's so I can really relate to that because I when I took over the tours at Retail Council of Canada for Manhattan, there was a little bit like that. And I said, you've got to go because things on paper and on the internet look more interesting sometimes than they actually are. Like you got to cross the threshold. You've got to walk in the store and see, is this a place I'm going to take business leaders to so that they can learn something, or it's a little bit different, right? I mean, I don't know about you. I think I looked at like 30 places and get it down to 5. I mean, it's a pretty aggressive ratio. Yeah. Is that how you approach it as well?
Yeah, absolutely. And often if you just read press releases, you're always going to go to the wrong places. We typically find that we'll build a map of all those types of things that we find out, but it's actually walking between the 2 points on the map that you find a third that's amazing. So it really is, sifting and then adding our expertise to that too. And often we know people who are linked to some of the concepts, so we pull out those insights. So it's a mixture of sharing research, the stories behind the project, and also our observations about why it works. So it's like a strategy session in the field, really. It's not so much talking about what makes one store special as the clues that each space shows about the future of retail and what the client, and therefore what the client could take from it. So we often say, I don't know, let's say you see 15 stores in a day. We say to them that if you pull all the elements that you like from each store that you like, by the end of the day, you can create your future store network on the back of an envelope. So, it's always about piecing together the concepts that you like and making it work for your own business. And also all our safaris are bespoke as well. So they're tailored to each and every client.
Fantastic. All right. Well, let's tap into some of that wisdom, particularly for the UK market. So I'm taking advantage of the fact that you're in the UK to just tap into what's the state of retail there. And I suspect I've been to London frequently. We were talking off mic that there's more similarities and differences in global kind of retail trends. But tell me how in the before time, pre-COVID, what the kind of trends were. And then, of course, we'll get to how things have been evolving over the past 18 months.
I think there are definitely a lot of similarities between what's happening here and what's happening in North America. I think, as I said at the start, I think omnichannel is still, I know it's a bit of a cliche now, but we're still obsessed with it because we will argue that omnichannel isn't a state, it's a journey. It's something that retailers can always improve on. And even some of the world's best omnichannel retailers are still actually not nailing it. I think one of the spaces that we were most excited about that opened before COVID was the matches fashion space. Have you heard of that?
No, I don't know. No, I don't know of it. Tell me about it.
Okay, so they actually started out, I think, in the 80s, but then they've completely overhauled their business. Now, 80% of their sales are online, but they're supporting this with some really innovative physical store experiences. So they opened up this 5-story townhouse that on the first floor in some ways looks more like an art gallery than a shop. There are some clothing rails, but they'll normally have an installation, like a partnership with one of the brands that they're promoting that's creative and artistic. The top floor is a cafe where everything is for free. Everything they serve is completely free, so you don't have to be a member. And it's not just nice coffee. They serve like nice avocado on toast and different nice lunches and things. But the idea is because they're a luxury retailer, it's worth them offering these free meals to mostly the right people who come in. The top floor is also a podcast studio. They have a whole events program, which we massively believe in. We think that retailers should be promoting themselves as much as they can online, of course. So it's interesting to see a store using their physical space to boost their digital brand. And then the middle floors are personal shopping spaces where the personal shoppers use some special clienteling system that lets customers check in. When a customer checks in, that shares everything that matches know about that customer with the personal shopper, so they can start to tailor what they offer that customer according to what they've bought in the past online. The personal shopper can request items from a nearby warehouse. So that's another big trend, that not everything needs to be held in the store itself. Things can be held nearby. So they kind of call things in as and when they need them. And then when the customer has left the store, the personal shopper can actually keep in touch with that customer through this piece of clienteling software. So it's omni-channel, but not in the traditional click and collect sense. It's omni-channel in that they fully thought about the store's role in the brand's digital ecosystem. Yeah, I love it.
Yeah, that's a great. It's a great demonstration of a lot of these trends, as we would call them, that are happening. Everything from entertainment to the store as media to instant fulfillment to the endless aisles to all those things. That's fantastic. And let's talk about e-commerce in the UK. As I think of it, I think of grocery, for example, pre-COVID. It was higher than North America. I think it was about 8 or 9%. You could correct me, but it feels like e-commerce is more adapted or more used by shoppers in the UK. What's the overall percentages as in terms of e-commerce and online sales? Pretty well adopted, yeah?
It is, definitely. I think we are the leader in Europe in terms of e-commerce in general. So I don't have precise numbers at my fingertips, but yeah, in terms of smartphone use, in terms of online shopping, in Europe anyway, we're one of we are the leading country.
Why do you think that is? I mean, I think from a grocery perspective, I've driven on the roads in London. I can appreciate some density and some traffic, but is that what has led Londoners or folks in the UK to be leaders in e-commerce? Do you have a sense of why such great adoption? Is it also that you've got great retailers who adopted the tech early? That the two things work in conjunction? What do you think?
Yeah, I think it's probably a mix of factors. So definitely everything you've just said, but also in terms of, our smartphone use and adoption, even that's ahead of the rest of Europe. Also possibly the fact that I think the UK feels more linked with the US. I think we take more ideas from the US perhaps than the rest of Europe. So we've possibly adopted some of the US's digital first thinking, and maybe some of its professionals and companies have come over here first. So it's, a mixture of different things.
We'll be back with my interview with Kate Trotter right after this message.
Hi, this is Kirk Allen, co-founder of Reshift Media. We're a digital marketing company that works with hundreds of retailers around North America, in fact, around the world. We develop digital strategies, including website development, app development, social media, and search. Would love for you to join us for an upcoming 3-part live stream series, How to Emerge from the Pandemic with a Digital Growth Plan, produced in conjunction with the RCC, and you'll hear from all sorts of retailers, from M&M Foods, Sur Mesure, Dogtopia, Harry Rosen, and of course, Michael LeBlanc will also be one that we'll be interviewing. So a lot has changed during the COVID-19 times. This is a 3-part session that will start on Tuesday, May 18th. And we'll talk about what's happened over the last year and a bit and how the pandemic has changed the digital game for retailers. During this session, we'll examine how consumer purchasing and digital media consumption has changed since COVID-19 began. And we'll also discuss what this could mean for your business in the future. One thing is certain, the new normal will be different from what we knew pre-COVID. Visit retailcouncil.org/events to learn more and register for this free event starting Tuesday, May 18th.
Now, as we think about the COVID era, I think about the double whammy, so to speak, of Brexit and COVID. I also look at the news, and it looks like you're coming out well. The vaccination program is going very well. You seem to be coming out of it. So give me a sense of the past 8 months and the current state of business and retail where you are.
Yeah, so I think the jury's still out. Everyone has high hopes, but we wait to see.
Yeah, you had a tough time of it, eh? UK had a tough time of it, like everywhere else. But and Brexit as well is another big factor. I think it was the Financial Times who went off and they spoke to about 100 economists, and they said, "What's the outlook for the UK?" And they said, "Well, given that the UK hasn't handled COVID very well and Brexit, we're expecting overall spending to go back to pre-COVID levels by the end of 2022. So yes, our vaccine program has been going well, but we're not out of the woods by any means. Right. I mean, the good news is, I think it was the Bank of England who was saying that £250 billion has been saved up by the people who've kept their jobs in this period. Right. Like a huge amount of money is waiting to be spent almost. I hear that around the world. I call it the stockpile. Here in Canada, it's again in the billions of money, just not spent on travel, not spent on all the wonderful things we used to do. And when that unleashes into the economy, does it go into services? Does it go into goods? Right. And that the good news is it should pull the economy up and out. It's all a matter of when, right? It's a race between the vaccines and the variants and all that stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm not sure about what happened in Canada, but we were allowed out of lockdown last summer, and there were spikes of spending and spikes of people going off and going to the cinema and going to the gym and things. But
same here. And people went back to stores, right? Interestingly, what we saw was that e-commerce dipped, right? Because people go, okay, I can go back to a store again. And so the torrid pace of e-commerce growth started to ebb off as things started to simmer down. I anticipate that to be the same case. Right now our stores are locked down in Toronto, the biggest market in Ontario. The stores are closed except for essential. So I suspect, restaurants have been closed for almost 250 days.
Wow.
So I suspect that comes in. Anyway, let's move a little past all that and imagine what retail stores look like post-COVID, post-vaccine, whatever the new normal looks like. If you and I were standing in a retail store, based on what you've been observing and what you expect, does it look like Match? What do stores look like? Tell me, as you look around virtually, so to speak, what are the features that define retail stores in the post-COVID era?
Oh, okay. What I should have said, the good news about what's happening during COVID is that some brands are opening stores. It hasn't stopped people from innovating, moving forward. It's not a done deal. We are definitely not out of the woods, but there are some brands who are moving forward and showing what's possible. I think, obviously, what the store of next year will look like depends on what stores are doing today, what particular stores are doing today. But I think, maybe some of the innovations we're not even going to see. We know that more of our clients are talking to us about data-driven stores. So they're tired of making decisions based on hunches, and they really want to know that what they're going to do is going to make a difference. Anything that they're going to change is actually responding to how customers are behaving and is going to open up better spend. So, yeah, we're developing a joined up concept for the data-driven store. But a lot of that technology won't be something that a customer will see, even though it will change how the store operates. So that, I think, will be interesting. I hope we see more clienteling tech, because that's one of the quickest wins in higher end retail, premium to luxury. Making sure that you connect with customers, that you keep in touch with them, is one of the quickest wins for stores. And also, again, we do come back to omnichannel, but just making sure that things like the store stock can be viewed live online, so people know they won't have a wasted journey. That the store stock is feeding into what's the online availability, that type of thing. That's mostly what I'm interested in. I think we will see more experiential spaces too. We've got an Eataly opening up in London soon.
Oh, that's fun. That's fun. We had one open up 50,000 square foot in Toronto, the first one outside, not the first one outside of the United States, but we had our own. Unfortunately, their timing was impeccably bad. Opened up just before COVID, but it's a wonderful store, and it's just a pile of fun too.
We will see more spaces do focus on enhancing the experience, but I don't know. I just personally, I'm more interested in developing these interconnected store networks. I think, again, smart stores are going to think about how maybe what the bigger city centre stores will do versus the neighbourhood stores,
right,
and how those can also connect with online availability and be part of this truly joined up ecosystem. And this is why I say we're not done talking about omnichannel yet, because very few brands are doing things like that well, or very few brands are exploiting all the opportunities from omnichannel.
You know, one of the things I expect to see here in Canada and in North America is an evolution of the buy online, pick up in store, or even curbside pickup, that goes from like everybody lined up in the same place at the service desk where there's returns, to more dedicated physical spaces. You know, a little more effort, and of course, volume solves that sin, right? More people are doing this behavior. Is that something you might imagine as well? A little more dedicated areas to returns and pickup, rather than kind of smushing it all together into the same, overstressed service desk?
Yeah, and other simple innovations to speed things up too. So we've recently connected with a company that provides smartwatches to staff in stores, and it lets them optimize how staff are used in stores in all sorts of ways. But one of the things they can do is connect the app to staff watches, essentially. So if you're approaching a store, you can say, I am nearby and I'm coming to collect my order. So you can give them 5-10 minutes warning so they can get everything ready. So you can then quickly walk in and walk out. And that makes so much sense, because as a customer, you really don't think you should wait very long to collect your order. It can. Nothing more frustrating than popping in to just pick up your order and standing beside someone returning 10 jumpers, and it takes forever. Right? Yeah, and I think there is an expectation that customers do it because they think it's going to be quicker, so it needs to deliver on that.
Yeah, right on. Well, listen, this has been great. I mean, it's been a great exploration, and as is the case, we're just starting to understand what it's going to look like, right? So some of my questions are kind of, okay, what's it going to look like? I don't know. Sometimes we're gonna experience it together, but it's with your eye for trend and your eye for retail. It's going to be a great journey. I encourage everyone to stay in touch and follow you. So speaking of which, how can people follow what you write, and where do they go to learn more and all that great stuff?
Sure. So, people can go onto our website, which is www.insider-trends.com. people are very welcome to connect with me on LinkedIn. So my name is Kate Trotter with a C, C-A-T-E. Yeah, and so if people have questions, if they want to have a chat about their plans, they want to use me as a sounding board to sense check their plans, that's totally fine. I'll happily have an informal discussion with people. I'm always happy to help and see maybe what's missing, what could be improved, that type of thing. So those are maybe the main things, but the website will talk about all our other services and bits and pieces. So.
All right, right on. Well, it's a great resource. As I said, I follow, and it was great to see your name on the Rethink Top 100. But I knew of your organization, didn't know you so well. So what a great opportunity to chit and chat. And thank you again for being on the Voice of Retail podcast. It was a real pleasure to meet you and talk about retail. And look forward to keeping in touch. And I wish you continued success.
Brilliant. Well, thanks very much for having me.
Thanks for tuning in to today's episode of the Voice of Retail. Be sure and follow the podcast on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you enjoy podcasts so you don't miss out on the latest episodes, industry news, and insights. If you enjoyed this episode, please consider leaving a rating review, as it really helps us grow so that we continue to get amazing guests onto the show. I'm your host, Michael LeBlanc, president of LeBlanc Company Inc., and if you're looking for more content or want to chat, follow me on LinkedIn or visit my website at meleblanc.co. Until next time, stay safe, have a great week.